Hello and welcome. This is Nationwide on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I am Lami Ali. President Muhammadu Buhari says if vaccination is the only way to end the COVID-19 pandemic, a more coordinated approach must be adopted by all stakeholders towards bridging the vaccine supply gap in Africa. He said licensing agreements must also be reached for the transfer of intellectual property and technology to support the production of vaccines on the continent. This was while addressing the opening session of the Paris Peace Forum now underway in the French capital. State House correspondent Adam Sambu has the report.
Convened by the French leader Emmanuel Macron, the Paris Peace Forum, fourth in the series, is devoted to the challenges of better global governance after COVID-19. Participants, including the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, will strategize towards reducing global divides in a world still under the threat of the pandemic.
Let us not be burdened by what has been. Let us focus on what can be. And let us realize a better future together.
We must also build new coalitions for regional conflict to build peace. I'm sure you've understood we've done a lot over the past year, but a lot remains to be done.
Delivering a keynote address at the event, President Muhammadu Buhari made it clear that the state of vaccine delivery across the world leaves much to be desired, especially as it affects the African continent. He said while some countries are giving booster third doses for their citizens, millions, especially in developing countries, are yet to receive a single dose.
As of 4th November 2021, 91.3 doses of vaccine had been given for every 100 persons across the world. On the same date, however, only 14.7 doses of vaccine per 100 persons has been administered in Africa, a clear case of lopsidedness. Countries with the highest incomes are getting vaccinated 10 times faster than those with the lowest income. This massive gap between vaccine requirements in Africa and vaccine availability is undermining the fight against coronavirus pandemic in the continent.
The president expressed the conviction that even if Africa were to receive the 600 million doses of vaccines under the COVAX arrangement by the end of this year, there will still be a considerable shortfall with the continent's 1.3 billion people. And with supply shortages and export ban, the planned COVAX deliveries to Africa have now been cut by 25%.
This is a major setback for Africa, where it is estimated that coronavirus vaccine deliveries have to increase from around 20 million doses a month to an average of 150 million doses a month if the target of fully vaccinating 70% of its population by September 2022 is to be achieved. So what needs to be done to plug the gap? Export restrictions that encourage needless hoarding of vaccines need to be lifted. There is a clear need for the expansion of vaccine production capacity in Africa.
Virtually speaking for Africa, President Muhammadu Buhari described as welcoming pledges by industrialized countries to share vaccines, saying, however, that such pledges, especially to developing countries, must be fulfilled and in a timely manner. From Paris, France, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has described the death of South Africa's last vice president, late Frederick William de Klerk, as the end of an era because of his tremendous impact on history and the cause of justice. In a statement, President Buhari said late de Klerk was a remarkable moral force for change who will be celebrated for years beyond his death, especially his role in ending the obnoxious apartheid system of racial segregation and discrimination in South Africa. President Buhari noted that the late South African leader had put humanity and justice before personal political ambition by dismantling the abhorrent apartheid system. Lester Clark, who won a joint Nobel Prize for Peace in 1993 alongside Nelson Mandela, the president said will not be forgotten for years to come because of his immense and immeasurable contributions to world peace and human rights, as well as justice. Now, the attention of the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice has been drawn to a confession of an alleged suspect during interrogation, linking his involvement to the recent invasion of the residence of the Justice of the Supreme Court, Mary Peter Odili. A statement by the Special Assistant on Media and Public Relations, Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Dr. Umar Jubril Lugwandu, describes the confessional statement as untrue. He stated that with all the competent, high-level professionals and capable human resources available at the disposal of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, it only takes the imagination of an evil mind to assume or think that the Justice Minister will descend so low to engage a quack or a fake police officer to serve as his consultant. The alleged suspect is therefore being asked to present documents of engagement where he ever worked as a consultant to the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice. Meanwhile, investigation to unravel the circumstances and personalities behind the invasion is ongoing. To political matters now, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has presented certificates of return to the Anambra State Governor-elect, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, and the Deputy, Dr. Onyekachukwu Ibezim. The event, which took place at the INEC office in Awka, was witnessed by many Abuja chieftains amidst other party supporters. Ngozi Okafo reports.
The ceremony is in compliance with Section 75 of Electoral Act 2010 as amended, which mandates INEC to issue a certificate of return to the governor and deputy-elect of Anambra State, signifying that they won the just concluded 2021 Guber election and satisfied the constitutional and legal requirements in Section 179 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. Performing the ceremony, Supervising National Commissioner for Anambra State, Festus Okoye, on behalf of INEC Chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, who recalled how the Commission surmounted the difficult circumstances encountered before the successful election, urged the incoming governor to strive to deliver commensurate to what is being celebrated today.
As you know, the tenure of the incoming governor of Anambra State will expire on 17th day of March 2022. The implication is that the governor and deputy governor-elect will not assume office immediately.
Professor Chukwuma Soludo, while pledging to live up to what is expected of him, and with full of appreciations, thanked especially President Muhammadu Buhari for his unalloyed support by providing a level playing ground for a successful election in Anambra State. By this, it now behoves on Professor Soludo to bring his professional training to bear to take Anambra State to the desired level. In Awka, Ngozi Okafo, NTA News.
In the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room on the Anambra State governorship election says the poll was violence-free and commends the commitment of individuals and groups who made efforts to promote peace, which reduced political tension in the state. This was part of the Situation Room's final report on the election. Timothy Yusuf has the details.
INEC has the capacity to deliver.
The review of the Anambra State governorship election was to spotlight positive lessons from the off-season poll, just as similar exercises in Ekiti and Osun states in 2022 draw closer. Situation Room highlights the introduction of the Bimodal Voters Accreditation System, BVAS, as a welcome development, noting that election preparations need to be improved upon to deliver efficiency in its deployment for the accreditation process.
If we believe in one vote, one count, I think at the end of the day, citizens will believe more in the process. If you know that your voting will count, definitely they will believe in it. Situation Room enjoins all stakeholders to continue to sustain the efforts and support towards an improved electoral process and deepening the democracy in Nigeria.
The Situation Room urges election stakeholders to critically interrogate the diminishing rate of citizens' participation in the electoral process with a view to overturning the trend, identifying that vote trading has continued to feature in Nigeria's elections and will remain if perpetrators go unpunished. It therefore calls for a need to accelerate the establishment of the National Electoral Offences Commission to prosecute electoral offenders. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Now, the National Cash Transfer Office, a component of the Social Investment Program of the federal government, has concluded arrangements to enroll more than 23,000 beneficiaries from Adamawa State. Yusuf Jika has the report.
Is a build-up to the enrollment of 23,134 beneficiaries from Adamawa State into the payroll of the conditional cash transfer, where cash transfer facilitators from across the local government areas have been updated on the new techniques of achieving greater outcome. Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, represented by the National Program Coordinator, Household Uplifting Program, Conditional Cash Transfer, Halima Shehu, emphasized that the program is targeting at the poor and vulnerable in the society to improve on their living condition.
The enrollment process provides a secured electronic platform for an end-to-end transfer, tracking and reconciliation of benefits to ensure accountability and transparency.
Governor Amadu Morufentri of Adamawa State, represented by Chief of Staff, Government House Yola, Professor Maxwell Kidado, commended President Muhammadu Buhari for the laudable policies and programs, especially the conditional cash transfer, which is supporting the socio-economic well-being of the poor and vulnerable in the society.
This is a program that does not know any party division. It cuts across all.
A cross-section of cash transfer facilitators say the workshop is an eye-opener to impact on the lives of the people. With the enrollment training, the beneficiaries of cash transfer in Adamawa State will now stand at 64,268. In Yola, Yusuf Jiga, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has lauded founder of the Tony Elumelu Foundation, Mr. Tony Elumelu, on his remarkable vision in training, mentoring and funding entrepreneurs from all the 54 African countries, describing it as a truly lasting legacy. In a statement, the president said Nigeria remains very proud of Mr. Elumelu, a global icon whose business and philanthropic interests continue to create opportunities for growth and development, not only in Nigeria, but across Africa. The president expressed pleasure that this year alone, the Tony Elumelu Foundation will fund 1,522 Nigerian entrepreneurs from all the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. This unifying act by a leading private sector, the president said, is commendable and worthy of emulation, noting that entrepreneurship and youth empowerment are important components in his administration in building businesses that will in turn sustain the economy. President Buhari congratulates the 2021 Tony Elumelu Foundation beneficiaries unveiled in Lagos Friday, November 12th, on the accomplishments and wish them all the best in the future. More reports from Lagos with Adiola. Hello, Adiola. How are you? But before that, we're going to go for a break and then join Adiola later.
Are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth Entrepreneurship Support Years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria, pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
The broadcast media ecosystem is dynamic and requires continuous training for practitioners to perform optimally. NTA TV College Jos invites relevant officers to the following specially packaged training programs. Transmitter operation and maintenance. Date 1st November to 5th November 2021, 1 week. Photojournalism and photography. Date 8th November to 26th November 2021, 3 weeks. Advanced broadcast accounting and auditing. Date 22nd November to 3rd December 2021, 2 weeks. The course fee for the 3-week course is 130,000 naira per participant, while the fee for the 2-week course and 1-week engineering course is 100,000 naira only per participant, accommodation inclusive. The venue for all courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA TV College near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. For more inquiries, please call 0803-314-43830 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College, Jos, training you to be the best you want to be.
The Super Eagles of Nigeria will look to stay in pole position in Group C when they take on the Lone Stars of Liberia. Can the Lone Stars of Liberia cause major shockwaves in the African World Cup qualifiers? It's Liberia versus Nigeria on the 13th of November in the African FIFA World Cup qualifier, showing on the network service of the NTA and Wazobia TV from 4:30 p.m. with live radio broadcasts on Cool FM, Wazobia FM and Nigeria Info. You can also join us online at sporty.com and NPFL TV. The FIFA World Cup qualifiers are proudly brought to you by Bet Niger and supported by MTN, Coca-Cola and Dettol, proud sponsors of the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
Watching the nationwide news. This time we're coming from Lagos. Leveraging on its vast chemical and material reserves, the federal government is set to translate its rich theoretical framework within the field of chemical technology into real wealth. The Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu, at the inauguration of an interministerial committee on the Nigerian Chemical and Material Industry Action Program, explained that the move is central to the presidential mandate of lifting 100 million people out of poverty. Michael Olaleye reports.
The chemical and material industry contributes an estimated $5.7 trillion to the world gross domestic product, apart from supporting more than 120 million jobs along the value chain. This is according to a 2019 report by the International Council of Chemical Associations. Nigeria is a major importer of chemicals, but there is a gold mine of $120 million in agrochemical feed alone that must be explored. The minister sees the inauguration of the committee as a bold step in formulating a policy document that will provide strategic oversight to the exploration, distribution, management, and regulation of chemicals in the country.
This will help create enormous opportunities for us, considering the fact that a thriving and sustainable chemical and material industry is vital to our future.
When the policy document is concluded, everybody is a winner, especially as it will guarantee high quality of products for use in both the country and for exports. The pharmaceutical and health sectors are not exempted.
We've been interested in how these chemicals are distributed around the country because of this critical role in security.
We are moving slowly and gradually to accepting that science, technology, and innovation can only provide and fill the gap that we want.
We want to establish chemical tank farms in different zones of the country, streamlining them into chemical stations.
The committee is expected to finalize its documentation on time, as a deadline of 3 months has been set aside for the delivery of the national policy on chemical technology in Nigeria. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NTA News.
A well-coordinated regional approach to maritime safety and security must be backed up with a uniform legal framework that will ease the process of prosecution and conviction of offenders regardless of whether crimes are committed within the stretch of the Gulf of Guinea. This is the submission of the Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency in Imasa at the close of the third rotating technical meeting on maritime security by the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Again, Michael Olalaye reports.
The troubled waters in the Gulf of Guinea is gradually submitting to tactical and legal pressure, as indicated by a report from the International Maritime Bureau that within the first 9 months of 2021, incidents of piracy and armed robbery dropped to 28, the lowest since 1994. The Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center is mindful of the challenges a reverse in winning the war against maritime crimes and criminals will cause the ECOWAS community and has instituted this rotating technical meeting on maritime security with support from the government of Denmark in the last 3 years.
State and multilateral actors who lead in the implementation of the safety and security measures in the Gulf of Guinea must identify and implement relevant confidence-building measures.
Let us, in our own peculiar ways, push for our agencies, our states, and our region to prioritize efforts at maritime security.
The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency is looking at more coordinated regional legal framework, having recorded significant successes in ending maritime insecurity through the instrumentality of its suppression of piracy and other Maritime Offences Act 2019.
Crime is a crime anywhere. Anybody that gets used to any criminals in any country, we can try him anywhere with such laws. Where such laws doesn't exist, we can take it to those countries that have those laws.
This is the last in a series of 3 meetings channeled towards enhancing cooperation and collaboration for improved safety and security in the maritime domain. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NTA News.
And those are stories from Lagos. Lami is back to you.
Thank you, Deola. Now, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, is seeking the removal of the Nigeria Police Force from the envelope budgetary system of the federal government. This was his request as the 2022 budget defense, which is focused on achieving optimal service delivery in police in the country. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu reports.
The IGP's analysis of the release and performance of the 2020 and 2021 budgets highlighted the capital-intensive nature of policing, considering the country's population and enhancement of intelligence gathering processes. The 2022 budget proposal for the Nigerian Police Force, according to him, is aimed at advancing modernization and strengthening capacity of the police in sustaining the internal security target of the federal government.
I also renew the assurances of my firm determination to continue to synergize with the 2 committees towards the repositioning the Nigeria Police Force to attain our commonly held vision.
Meanwhile, the Chief of Naval Staff has drawn the attention of the Senate Committee on Navy for more funds allocation in the 2022 budget.
The release has been used to fund implementation of critical projects such as milestone obligations for the ongoing construction of the landing ship tank in UAE, 17-meter Aresa inshore patrol crafts, the new 35-meter hydrography survey boats, as well as the maritime patrol helicopters.
We are weighing them on what to do to enable them perform very effectively.
The 2022 budget of the Nigerian Navy focuses on the implementation of critical projects in line with the 21st century naval operations. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
And still staying with the legislature, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, says measures have been put in place for rapid response on the incessant strike actions by health workers in the country. He made this known during a budget defense session of the ministry before the House Committee on Labour, Employment and Productivity. National Assembly correspondent Mobolaji Muribiring has the reports.
After the Minister of Labour and Employment's presentation, the committee sought clarifications on beneficiaries of the minimum wage, particularly if it was limited to only civil servants. Policies put in place for the replacement of striking health workers who left the Ministry of Health also caught the attention of the lawmakers.
There is need for the Ministry of Labour, especially in healthcare, to come up with a policy vis-a-vis the Federal Ministry of Health, Office of Head of Service, Director General and rest, in terms of replacement.
It's helping your ministry in terms of making provision for the crisis you are always confronted.
Any institution that delays in replacement have themselves to blame, because there's an embargo on employment by Federal Executive Council.
The National Productivity Center also presented its 2022 budget proposal, stating inadequate funding as the major challenge.
A nationwide research and survey, 10 million is grossly inadequate.
Meanwhile, the House Committee on Customs and Excise has resumed investigation into non-remittance of customs duties by some commercial banks. Members of the committee unanimously agreed to suspend EcoBank over an outstanding debt of 4.3 billion naira.
EcoBank is the only bank that we can say we are concluded with, and they are to pay the sum of 4.3 billion.
The committee says it is determined to block all financial loopholes in the nation's economy. From the National Assembly, Mobolaji Moribiri, NTA News.
Let's now move over to Felicia in Jos Network Center for more reports on Nationwide. Hello, Felicia. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Lami. Welcome to Jos. Skills acquisition remains the most viable and sustainable solution to the increasing rate of unemployment and poverty in Nigeria. This was at an interactive forum of stakeholders organized by the Industrial Training Fund, JOS. The report.
The Industrial Training Fund, which is the foremost training industry in the country, meets with these stakeholders as a feedback mechanism. The interactive session themed Skills Acquisition as a Tool for Poverty Reduction in Nigeria, the role of ITF, x-rays the causes of poverty and solutions.
I've learned a lot on how we can help and work with the states and the people of the state to be able to help in curbing the menace of poverty in our country.
I represent an organization where we manufacture, so we continually employ people, train them, not just train them for the skill sets for the work they need with our organization, and equally train them for other skill sets they'll be needing outside of the organization.
ITF over the years has been training women, youths, and the physically challenged to be self-reliant.
The business of providing, promoting, and encouraging skill acquisition is a joint effort.
Stakeholders agree that skills acquisition remains the most viable and sustainable solution to the increasing rate of unemployment and poverty.
We're here to discuss and answer these questions with a view to assisting ITF to not only continue to be a poverty reduction agency through skills acquisition training, but an effective one.
The interactive session attracted participants from various economic sectors.
The Association of Science Laboratory Technologists of Nigeria says it is committed to consolidating government's efforts by laying a solid foundation for the overall human and capital developments through application of science and technology. This was the submission of key players in the sector during the association's 36th annual national conference holding at the University of Jos. Caleb Guchin has details.
Science and technology is an important tool in the development of any nation as it cuts across all sectors of the economy. The systematic utilization and application of science and technology is known to have improved the living standard of people and nations, making life worthwhile. National Institute of Science Laboratory Technologists described as unique the meeting in Jos as it provides a platform for interaction among members of the institute, association and academia towards Nigeria's search for self-sustainability.
We want sustainable research-based goals for advancing the country so that we are no more in the old ways. We're trying to find indigenous or local solutions for COVID-19. They are working hard to ensure that we are able to have a big breakthrough.
Drawn from across the country, they say the platform is ideal for shaping their skills for greater performance in their places of assignment.
In our research, that's where I can be able to come in to give my optimal best.
Be able to go home satisfied that the role of a technologist is well established in the country.
The conference has empowering the laboratory technologists for sustainable science and technology development in Nigeria in the face of COVID-19 as its theme. In Jos, Caleb Gochin, NTA News.
This is Nationwide. More reports in Abuja as we rejoin Lami Ali.
All right, thank you, Felicia. The Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, has been presented with a certificate of compliance on the business outline projects that will enable the Federal Fire Service drive the fire safety initiative in the country. Kenneth Nanim reports that the business outline of the fire safety project was certified by the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, ICRC.
With the increased rate of fire incidences in parts of the country, the Federal Fire Service has been on its toe seeking solution. Now, partnership with a private organization is midwifing a digital application known as Life Safety Systems Networking, Monitoring and Dispatcher Real-Time Integration System, an application designed to transmit incident alert signals to the Federal Fire Service control room.
It works by, first of all, dictating the incident in homes, in offices, and what have you, and using the control system inherent or installed in the homes to transmit the signal by itself without any human intervention to the responder.
The Acting Director General of Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, Mike Ruhiani, is here to present proof of compliance of the Fire Safety Project business outline to the Minister.
The next stage will be that we will subject it to market discovery so that we can benchmark it and ensure that the general public get value for money. The concession period is going to be 10 years and is going to generate about 32 billion naira for the country.
With regards to this, a 6-man steering committee has been inaugurated by the Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, to ensure implementation.
The objective of which is to remove the challenges that the Nigerian public faces in appropriate reporting of fire incidents.
It takes the hope of the Federal Fire Service and that of the Ministry that deployment of these emerging technology will curb incidents of fire disaster in Nigeria. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
Now, in view of the recent attack on the Kaduna-Abuja train service, a Nigerian Air Force helicopter has commenced a regular patrol of the railway tracks to safeguard passengers on the route. The Acting Director, Defense Media Operations, Brigadier General Bernard Onyuku, announced this as the Defense Headquarters, Abuja. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa brings us the details.
Top on the periodic update of armed forces operations that span between 29 October to 11 November 2021 include measures adopted by the Defense Headquarters to secure the Abuja-Kaduna train service and the mass surrender of terrorists in the northeast.
The NAV helicopters are currently on patrol at Abuja-Kaduna railway lines to protect the passengers and the rail tracks.
Details of operations within the period under review indicate that more than 1,000 terrorists have surrendered, 71 were eliminated, while 139 kidnapped victims were rescued by troops in different parts of the country.
Troops discovered and immobilized a total of 20 illegal oil refining sites, 62 ovens, 19 reservoirs. Furthermore, 8 criminal elements, including 2 impostors, were arrested.
Similarly, several criminal camps were destroyed by both ground troops and Air Force fighter jets operating in different operations across the country. From the Defense Headquarters in Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
And Kaduna Network Center is next with Suleiman as our guide. Suleiman, you're on.
Lami, and welcome to Kaduna. In a renewed commitment to ensuring food sufficiency amid the industrial requirement of sorghum production in Nigeria, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development has organized a seed and input fair in Kano. Our service reports that the gathering attracted farmers from across the northwest and northeast geopolitical zones of the country.
Sorghum production in Nigeria has not met the national demand and is attributed to low productivity of the crop. The Sorghum Seed and Input Fair, organized by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, is to enable farmers identify desirable seeds, inputs, and the companies producing them for improved access. The gathering is born out of the federal government's desire to improve the productivity of the crop, enhance farmers' income, and attracts more youth to sorghum cultivation in order to meet the demand and contribute to the growth of the gross domestic product.
We farmers, they're encouraging us to produce more. The varieties they're giving us and when to plant and how to look after it.
They will be exposed to those seeds, improved seedlings, and other inputs, and they will have a one-on-one opportunity with producers of some of these inputs.
It is expected that the farmers should know the importance of using improved certified seeds for planting.
Farmers from the two zones are expected to properly utilize the knowledge gained and cascade it to other farmers in their areas. In Kano, Awal Salisu, NTA News.
Nigeria's position at the United Nations Conference on Mitigating Global Climate Change through Green Revolution and strong investment in biotechnology has been described as a giant step towards addressing climate change-related challenges, the report.
With the effects of climate change and to take
United Nations Climate Change Conference COP26 reinforces Nigeria's commitment to addressing global concern like the negative impact of climate change. Presidential presentations on Nigeria's resolve to engage in massive green revolution, innovation of environmentally friendly automobiles, and gender action plan on climate change, experts say, will augment global effort at achieving 80% zero carbon.
So we need to be thinking that what can we do about the kind of tractors we import? Are we going to import the tractors that are 100% diesel, or are we going to, yes, and vehicles and what have you, or are we going to localize, just like Malaysia is doing? We restrict that any official vehicle must be made in Nigeria. Any vehicle that has to do with an investor must be made in Nigeria. That will go a long way in getting market for those products that we produce, and also trying as much as possible to see that we reduce the carbon emission from car exhaust.
Dr. Yahya Saleh Ibrahim cautions Nigerians against unfriendly environmental habits to augment government effort at addressing climate-related challenges. With that report, Lami, take it away from here.
some commercials and we'll be back after the break. Do stay tuned.
History is history, so either you know it or you don't.
My advice to the younger generation is that they should learn from what we have started and what we have left.
I did things that ordinarily I should not have been doing. What that meant was that I was working hard.
Whatever assignment you are given in life, put in your best.
The military years were a disaster.
Smoldering effects of all that is what we are trying to cure.
The Super Eagles of Nigeria will look to stay in pole position in Group C when they take on the Lone Stars of Liberia. Can the Lone Stars of Liberia cause major shockwaves in the African World Cup qualifiers? It's Liberia versus Nigeria on the 13th of November in the African FIFA World Cup qualifier, showing on the network service of the NTA and Wazobia TV from 4:30 p.m. with live radio broadcasts on Cool FM, Wazobia FM and Nigeria Info. You can also join us online at sporty.com and NPFL TV. The FIFA World Cup qualifiers are proudly brought to you by Bet Niger and supported by MTN, Coca-Cola and Dettol, proud sponsors of the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
Many thanks for saying. The Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Isa Ali Pantami, says the federal government is winning the war against cybercrimes in Nigeria. The minister, who was emphatic about the position, said President Muhammadu Buhari has strengthened all anti-graft agencies to enable them tackle the menace. The minister stated this at the Nigeria International Partnership Forum in Paris, France. Anthony Forson brings us the details.
4.2 seconds every day. A new malware is released globally.
Giving a comprehensive narration on how Nigeria is tackling this modern-day criminal activity, the minister said President Muhammadu Buhari is committed to ensuring that Nigeria is not a haven for fraudsters, so that investors can feel safe because of the country's strategic location.
Investment in Nigeria will give you an ability to be in West Africa and at the same time in Central Africa. And it will give you an ability to dominate West Africa on one hand and Central Africa on the other. Nigeria, with a population of more than 200 million people today, is the gateway of West Africa.
He explained that the National Identification Number exercise was carefully thought out.
The primary responsibility of government is security and safety of its citizens. It is because of this that President Muhammadu Buhari is very passionate about that, and he has been pushing to ensure that we establish the foundation of our economy and the foundation of our security on the national identification number, so that the identity of our citizens and legal residents will be known.
Minister of State for Petroleum, Timipre Silva, told the forum that Nigeria, as a major player in the global oil and gas production table, is indeed an investor's haven.
It's a brand new opportunity, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We have a national goal of increasing our oil production to about 4 million barrels from where we are, which is about 2 million barrels. Our target is to increase our production to about 4 million barrels. So you can see that there is a lot of headroom for growth. There is no better time to enter the oil and gas investment environment than now. You will ask, why are we investing in the oil and gas sector when the global community is moving to renewable? But we all agree that oil and gas will be with us for a long time to come. All the outlooks, all the projections tell us that oil and gas will still be part of the global energy mix.
The agriculture minister on his part reeled out agricultural endowment Nigeria is blessed with.
Our top traded commodities in the year 2020: sesame seeds, good fermented Nigerian cocoa beans, superior quality raw cocoa beans, natural cocoa butter, cashew nut shell and cashew nut and shell, ginger, other frozen shrimps and prawns, and the Nigerian cattle meat, grossing over 270 billion naira in the year 2020.
On the whole, they all gave the assurances that the federal government has put in place all necessary mechanisms to protect investors and their investments in Nigeria. In Paris, France, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Now, to further achieve sustainable peace in the face of insecurity in some parts of the country, the Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Malam Yakubu Ibn Muhammad, is advocating more research on ways of managing post-insurgency. This was when he received top management of the University of Maiduguri, led by the institution's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Aliu Shugaba, in his office. Olain Kauju brings us the story.
Yes, Borno State has been faced with different forms of insecurity with triple effects on the education sector. But throughout this period, the University of Maiduguri was never shut down. This was made possible with the support of security operatives and the NTA, who continued to showcase the institution as a center of excellence in positive light, both in character and learning, through some of its programs. And it is to further strengthen the relationship as well as appreciate the NTA for its fairness and objectivity in its reportage of the school that the university management is visiting the NTA.
Thank you for encouraging us and always reporting about us, projecting us in an image that made us to be considered a hero.
Director General NTA, Malam Yakubu Ibn Muhammad, who assured the people that NTA will continue to advance the cause of government, particularly during this post-insurgency period, pledged continued support to the University of Maiduguri.
What do we need to do to make sure that we never fall back, to that period of darkness in the history of Nigeria? This requires a lot of research, and we will continue, to partner with the university, in managing the post-insurgency, period.
The University of Maiduguri is among the second-generation universities in Nigeria established by the federal government in 1975. Olainka Ojo, NTA News.
Unrelenting efforts are being made to transform Nigeria to a knowledge-based economy through research, technology, technical and vocational education. This chronicles activities of Ministry of Education this week. Abdullahi Musa Suleja has the report.
The ministry takes giant strides to transform the sector through the agencies under it. By so doing, the Tertiary Education Fund (TED Fund) has introduced new paradigm where research can be improved upon to provide solutions or serve as a compass to direct the country to prosperity. It is known as the National Research Fund Screening and Monitoring Committee and Technical Advisory Group.
We are concerned about the quality of the research, about getting value for the money that we are committing to research.
In another development, the National Library of Nigeria says it is poised to leverage on information and communications technology to revive library and make it user-friendly. National Librarian Professor Veronica Anonobi briefed journalists in Abuja.
My administration will set in motion a program termed Family Book Club, where families and communities will be encouraged to document their biographies, preferably in indigenous languages. By so doing, we would have enhanced literacy and preserved in print form our cultural heritage, which are going extinct.
Meanwhile, the ministry, in collaboration with the Program Skill Development for Youth Empowerment of the German Development Cooperation, held a national conference on technical and vocational education to upscale efforts in youth skill capacity building through investment in that subsector.
It is my hope that these levels will strengthen the TVES framework and open Nigerians up to the tremendous opportunity within the continent and the global economy.
We want to overcome the fragmentation of this sector here in Nigeria, and I think this is only the beginning today.
The workshop will enable participants to achieve quality skill outcomes and prepare them to face the world of work. Abdullahi Musa Slija, NTA News.
And the ECOWAS Treaty of 1975, meant to promote economic integration within the sub-region, has come under close scrutiny due to its failure to achieve stated goals and objectives, despite the regional bodies' efforts towards the accelerated integration process. Now, speakers had a colloquium on the subject matter aggregated issues that require delicate balancing for policymakers' consideration for the organization's progress. Judiciary correspondent Vera Chinuba was there.
ECOWAS is currently undergoing institutional reform with structural changes that will have direct impact on citizens. Speakers at the colloquium organized by Epiphany Azinge Foundation is to examine and reassess the impact of ECOWAS Treaty on the sub-region. Professor Mohammed Ladan, Director General, Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies, who spoke through Zoom, said an efficiently funded supranational commission and court of justice will accelerate integration.
Primarily, trade is central to the economic change agenda of ECOWAS, especially under the supranationality approach introduced by the three ECOWAS countries.
There's been other revisions in terms of some made since then. What has changed? Nothing. The ECOWAS Court of Justice. Nobody obeys its, nobody implements its judgment.
Other speakers, however, said despite fundamental changes facing ECOWAS, it has made progress, especially with free movement of persons within the region.
Where citizens can travel within West Africa without taking a visa. What about the right of establishment? That too is very important.
The parameters of statehood or nationhood for Nigeria is to know whether we can call a meeting of ECOWAS and see which aspect of it we need to modify in order to obviously hold our sovereignty.
Fiera Chimuba, NTA News.
To health matters now, Nigeria ranks as the 6th country in the world and #1 in Africa with record cases of tuberculosis. But the narrative is set to change with the milestone achieved in diagnosis and treatments during the COVID-19 lockdown. Stop TB Partnership Nigeria at this year's National TB Conference gathered health experts to review research results and leverage gains recorded within the lockdowns to control the disease in Nigeria. Chimdemman Debussy tells us more.
Nigeria is estimated to have 450,000 cases of tuberculosis every year, but only about 30% of this number is detected, leaving a 70% gap. During COVID-19, when other countries were unable to do much about TB cases, Nigeria became the first African country to break even on increasing detection of cases globally, moving from 110,000 to 138,000, a 15% increase. This was achieved by running TB tests alongside COVID-19 tests.
The whole world now is not saying, Nigeria, what did you do? Started to look at where else can people be treated. Because during the COVID, all the government facilities were closed. Then we knew that there are private facilities that we could utilize in supporting the TB services.
A whole lot of new innovations are actually what we are sharing here. TB lamp can detect close to 70, can diagnose 70 samples in a day. DEFLIGHT is a portable digital X-ray that we use to target active case finding in very hard to reach population. One of the key gaps in finding TB in the children is that they can give you the sputum. We introduce a new technology. You can use this stool sample and be able to make diagnosis.
With all these innovations put in place, health experts see a galvanized effort towards tuberculosis response. In Abuja, Chimdemma Ndubisi, NTA News.
And sports update is next on Nationwide.
Super Eagles are in high spirits ahead